This entire book reminds me of one of those stream of consciousness writing exercises, except that you're supposed to actually clean those up before you publish them, not send them off to the printer with every random stray thought that floated across your mind in that moment. Hello and welcome to Connotation Points Video Snark. If you came here because you thought that this was an audiobook, please stick around and maybe learn some reading and listening comprehension skills. I read books and discuss what went wrong and how they can possibly be fixed. I'm continuing my read-through of Funny You Should Ask by Elissa Sussman. Not the first video, go check out the others, links are posted below. Chapter 6. As Gabe makes tea, he asks why she hates New York. Chani flushes that she remembers why he knows that, thinking back to not even an hour earlier when he called her out on how unprofessional that she was with this interview. She doesn't exactly have some profound answer as to why. When she was attending Sarah Lauren, she would go sometimes into the city to see a Broadway play. The theater and the food were pretty much the only good things about the place, in her opinion. Then they proceed to have a super tedious conversation about the differences between LA and New York. And it's one of those things where I know that this is how real people talk. But the difference between how real people talk and how people inside of a novel talk is huge. I do not want to sit here and read about how Chani agrees that yes, LA does have the superior taco experience. Gabe complains that he really did have a good chai tea recipe, but he can't find it right now. He insists on getting Chani's phone number so that he can message it to her when she finally does find it. Chani finally says that she should go, which is for the best considering that I wanted to read literally not one single thing more about their tedious interview, yet the author keeps dragging it out. Gabe says that he needs to go watch that movie and says that he'd gotten a promise from Oliver that they'd talk about it once he'd seen it. Chani thinks that the Gabe-Oliver friendship must be legit if they would meet up behind the scenes to talk about old movies. But this also makes her think that the rumors about Gabe and Jacinda were also wrong because the tabloids had gotten the Gabe and Oliver relationship wrong as well. Chani tells Gabe that he'll have fun at Oliver's movie premiere tomorrow, that she wouldn't, so then she'd have to send her in heels. Gabe tells her that she wouldn't have to wear heels, but before Chani can ask him what that means, he gets distracted when his phone rings. He doesn't answer and Han waves it away by saying that it's his manager. Gabe then changes the subject and asks about a play that he starred in where he had to kiss another man on stage. Chani gives this really long rant about how it's acting, and it's not as if people accuse Anthony Hopkins of actually eating people or Matt Damon of being a horse, so why would one onstage kiss matter in the long run? After she said her piece, Chani again feels embarrassed, despite the fact that Gabe seemed to kind of like it. She says that she should go and starts for the door. Before leaving, Gabe tells her to call him if she wants to go to the premiere. Bonus Chapter 7. Today's bonus chapter is something from what I can only assume is this book's version of the Fashion Police website. It's literally a single paragraph, and it's basically confirming that yes, Chani actually did go to the premiere with him. The writer of the article doesn't actually know who Gabe's date was, however, but it's heavily implied that it actually was her. But let's say that I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out to not be Chani at all. Anyway, Chani, or not Chani, wore a blue dress that matched Gabe's blue suit. I really do not care. This entire thing wasted an entire page for what amounts to a single paragraph of Chani wore a blue dress to Oliver's movie premiere. The only thing I can think of to say is at least it was short. We're finally back in the now. Chapter 7. Chani drives back to the restaurant where she and Gabe had that interview. Despite having driven past it many times, the sight of it always filled Chani with a weird sense of shame, and she'd never actually look at it. But thinking about the food made her mouth water. And I check my chin for the little black hair that I'm always plucking and yet still manages to find a way to grow back at the most inconvenient times. It has decided not to join me today, and for that I'm grateful. This entire book reminds me of one of those stream of consciousness writing exercises, except that you're supposed to actually clean those up before you publish them, not send them off to the printer with every random stray thought that floated across your mind in that moment. As Chani walks in, she decides to smack the reader in the face by reminding us of how much time has passed, in case you somehow missed that in the prologue. 10 years have passed, in case you missed it. That pregnant waitress would have a 10-year-old now. Chani also tells readers that she moved to New York for a while and only came back to LA a year ago. She feels weirdly out of place in her hometown and wonders if it's some sort of punishment for having left in the first place. The narration then goes out of its way to tell us that Chani is Jewish. Now, this is the second time in 2 chapters that this was brought up. The first was right after her impassioned speech at the end of the previous chapter, and she called herself, and I quote, a loudmouth Jew. Now, it's been a while since I've seen an author reusing Judaism like this, but my thoughts about it are along the same lines as anything else. I legit don't care if a character is Jewish, Buddhist, or worships SpongeBob, if they're Black, Asian, or Native American. What I care a lot about is when the author legit will not shut up about the character's ethnic or cultural background and will not stop hammering this fact in. She's a Jew. She's Jewish. Have I mentioned that she's Jewish? Every other paragraph. We get it. Move on, please. Unless the character is actively celebrating Passover or sitting Shiva or whatever, I don't care about her background. The same goes for literally any other background. Once this fact has been introduced, there's no need to bring it back up again. Certainly not twice in 2 chapters. Chani has to go into the bathroom to give herself a pep talk before Gabe arrives. The last time we met, we were young and brash and stupid. I remind myself that 2 people can experience the same exact thing in completely different ways. I remind myself that I now know better. I am legit going to scream if the narration does nothing to show us that the 2 of them have matured in any way in the past decade. After this, the plot literally screeches to a halt so that the narration can introduce Katie, Chani's best friend. Katie is not at the restaurant with Chani, and she only sent a single encouraging text, but this entire thing spun into a page of character description for somebody who isn't even there. I'm not sure that words alone can properly express how much that I don't care. I don't care about Gabe or Chani after 6 chapters, so why should I care about Katie? Chani then thinks about how excited everybody is that she's doing another Gabe interview. Her agent is hoping that this one will be the centerpiece of her next book. Everybody is hoping that lightning really will strike twice and that one will be equally as good as the first one. Except that Chani hates how she became the girl who didn't, or did she, sleep with Gabe. That her name is attached to that, and it's how she launched her own career. Girl, why are you complaining? Do you have the money in the bank and that book deal? Who cares what random people online think about you? Chani finally leaves the bathroom and will not stop info dumping about the differences between then and now. Like, we get it, it's 10 years later, please move on. She's anxious as she looks around for Gabe, and then he finds her in the restaurant. Bonus Chapter 8. This is a collection of 4 reviews of something called Tell Me Something I Don't Know. As I start reading, it becomes obvious that this is Chani's book. Broadsheets describes it as a collection of Chani's interviews, including the one interview that made her famous. That reading it makes it feel like you're talking with your best friend. Publishers Weekly says that it's a fun beach read. Kirkus Review says that the book is like a bomb after a long day. That everybody will wince again with embarrassment as she recounts how she blew her once-in-a-lifetime chance with the Bond star after attending a house party of his and passing out in his guest room. Goodreads is the only review that actually has something of value to say. Much like how I cannot read 5-star reviews, I'm also side-eyeing those first 3 reviews as being BS and paid for. The singular Goodreads review doesn't say who wrote it, but they're honestly not wrong. They complain that Chani is a literal nobody and her book of interviews is not only self-absorbed but also self-serving. That they implied that the literal only reason why she got off the ground was because she slept with Gabe. Aside from the comment about Chani having slept with Gabe, I kind of agree with the Goodreads review. Why would anybody want to actually publish such a thing? And I'm baffled over why people would buy the collection. The Goodreads reviewer said it all in the opening line. Apparently, Horowitz is a fairly beloved celebrity interviewer. This reviewer could not say how or why. There is also a bonus comment from Reddit. However, calling it a review would be insulting to everybody's intelligence, including the author who literally put this line in there. It's short, so I'll quote it. Chani Horowitz is a Reddit. Thanks, Internet. Quite on brand. If Chani's book had come out today, I'm positive that there would have been a Twitter movement to try and cancel her for her self-serving publication. All of what I said about these reviews, I would still choose the same path that Chani did. The name was out there and the public had interest in buying my book, no matter how terrible it was. She clearly did well for herself in the past decade. Thanks for listening to my Book Snark on YouTube. New videos are up every Monday, but stick around because I sometimes drop random videos on other days too. Just as a reminder, even if you can't financially support me, there are other ways to help me out. The first is watching this video as well as all my other videos. It's also important to like and subscribe. Finally, you can share this video with all of your friends so that they can help as well. If you're already caught up with all my videos, you can go to Tumblr for my main book snarks, always free and updated every morning. And if you've already read all of my main snarks, then you can find even more snark on my Patreon. You can access it for $1 a month. Members also get early access to my main Tumblr snark. Special thanks to Dawn, Phoebe, and Nikki for supporting me on Patreon already. If you want to hear your name in my video next week, either support me on Patreon or make a one-time donation. Do you like my Snark so much that you want me to Snark your rating? I do that too. For just $6 per chapter, I will tell you how awful that your rating is. But not to worry if you feel like you couldn't take the criticism. I also offer regular book editing as well, just $10 per chapter. You can contact me on any of my social media platforms if you have further questions. If you want to read some of the things that I've written, you can purchase my works on Amazon. I have a slew of erotic short stories and 2 full-length novels. I also frequently run flash sales on my stories And if you don't follow me on any social media, you might want to do so just so you can know when I might be offering things for free. Links for everything will be posted below. See you next week, guys.